Welcome back. In the previous steps, we created a virtual machine, we installed Nginx on it, and we were able to run a simple Hello World app from it. In this step, let's look at how you can automate the entire series of steps that we have done. I'll go back to virtual machines, and over here, what we want to do is to add a new virtual machine. So I want to add a new virtual machine. I would use the same resource group that we have used earlier. So I'll use compute resource group. I'll not create a new one. I'll reuse the existing one, which is compute RG, and I'll call this my second VM. So this is my second virtual machine. I'll choose the same things that we chose earlier. The image would be Ubuntu Server 18.04. The size would be B1S. For the SSH public key, what I would recommend you to do is to use the same key that we used earlier. What I would recommend you to do is to use existing key stored in Azure and select the key that we created earlier, which is my first VM key. So the key which we downloaded earlier can be reused for this specific instance as well. And the public inbound ports, what we'll do is we'll configure two of them. We'll say HTTP and SSH. And what we would do next is go to disks. Let's take the defaults in disk. Let's take the defaults in disks. Let's go to advanced. In advanced is where we can actually make use of something called cloud init. Earlier, we wanted to run these commands. And to be able to run these commands, we needed to SSH into the machine and then run the commands. Cloud init provides you a way to simplify that. What we can do is we can put a series of commands in here, and these commands would be automatically executed at startup. To say that this is bash command, what we need to do is to add in a simple script like this in here. So we can add this. This is to say this is bash command. And what we want to do is execute these commands. So we would want to do sudo su apt-get-y update, apt-get-y install nginx. You can look at the previous steps, and these commands should be, this entire script should be made available to you in the previous step in text format, or you can pick it up from the presentation as well. And what I would do is I'd pick up the last one where we have the host name. So what we are doing right now is at startup, we are installing Nginx, and then we are customizing the home page with the host name. I'd go ahead and say review and create. The validation has passed, and now I can go ahead and say create. After a couple of minutes, I saw this, your deployment is complete. What I would do now is click go to resource, and over here I can see the public IP. What I would do is copy the public IP the clipboard, and I'll type it in. And you should see welcome to in 28 minutes my second VM. Where is this coming in from? This is the host name of the second VM. If you are having any problems with this, what I would recommend you to do is to wait for a couple of minutes. The initialization after a VM is launched would take a couple of minutes. What I would recommend you to do is to wait for it and then try it again, and then you should see this message come up. Right now we have both the first virtual machine and the second virtual machine up and running. If I go to the virtual machines and see the list of virtual machines right now, oops, it's showing just one. Let's do a refresh. Yep, right now it shows two virtual machines. Now think about this. What if I would want to create 10, 15, 20 virtual machines? What if I would want to have 10 instances of my application? Would I be able to do all that manually? Wouldn't that be tiring? Let's see how to automate all that stuff starting the next step.